Hello, hello. So we are um, just going to do some live editing, and a couple people submitted some images, and I appreciate that. That's awesome. So I'm just going to give everybody a chance to log on so that everyone has a chance to be a part of it. So we are starting day 4 of the boot camp, and what we're going to do is we're going to um, do this editing together. Well, you're going to watch me do it. And feel free to ask me any questions that you may have, and I will try and monitor the chat as best that I can. And feel free to ask. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and we'll get started. So, I am currently in Adobe Bridge. So, a lot of you guys are, familiar with Lightroom. Not everybody's familiar with Bridge. I teach my students to use Bridge, and the reason why is because I find that with Lightroom, I find that because I'm not a wedding photographer, it's just too heavy of a program, so there's not really any point to use Lightroom as a newborn photographer. And you can basically do everything just about the same in Bridge and ACR as you can with Lightroom. So what we're going to do is I'm going to work on these 2 images that were submitted, and then I'm also going to just pick a few images from that newborn live the newborn gallery that I had done for the Oh, if you're going to use Bridge, you have to see at the top here, it gives you the source of where you're finding your images. So you go to the file specifically, choose the file, Kathy, that you are that you've uploaded your pictures to, which I recommend you use a external hard drive because it's going to save your computer that way. So yeah. Okay, so we are going to do a few here. So I'm just going to grab some random ones. I'm not going to go crazy. She's such a cutie pie. Such a pretty baby. Yeah, Bridge is great. Like, let me just show you guys a few really great things about Bridge. So, if you're to press the space bar, it will actually bring up your entire image and fill the screen. And if you want to label it, you literally just press like the number. So, between 1 and 5. I just pressed 5 and it gave it a 5-star. If I wanted to label it, I would press between 6 and 9 and it'll give it a label, a colored label. So if you're looking at the screen at the bottom left, this is a really great way to quickly just sort through your images full screen. And this is another way that I like to do my ordering appointments because then the image fills the screen on Zoom and the clients are able to see the entire portrait. Or what you could do is go to this little section right here and click review mode. And this allows you to flip back and forth and cull, and then you can actually create a gallery collection that way. Or let's just say that, like for instance, when I am doing ordering appointments on Zoom, let's just say that I want to separate all of my images that have a 5-star and then all of the images with a label. When I am doing an ordering appointment with my clients, if they choose a picture, I label it blue. So then when I'm going through at the end after doing an ordering appointment, let's just say these are the blue ones, then I would go over here and I would create a blue or a new collection, and I would label it whatever the name is. So I'll just call it Model B Loves. Okay. And then I have all of these files, so you can see that I have a whole bunch of collections in here. Some of them are proof, some of them are love, some of them are likes, as you can see, but I removed the folder afterwards. And yeah, it's just a super great way to organize and do it quite easily while you're doing an ordering appointment online. So we are going to carry on. I get so distracted. And this is actually another thing that I just want to touch on quickly for the angles portion of like side sleeper, for example. This is the typical front view. This is like a close-up side view. This is a close-up front view. And then a close-up traditional view. And then from up above. So you can see that I had just lightly tucked the wrap around her midsection, and then I gathered it neatly behind the baby's body. And what I like to recommend is that when you are gathering the wrap behind the baby, don't trail it off and make it look like a leash. That always looks weird. So I like to gather it around the baby so that there's intentional like dimension around the baby rather than like a single wrap line. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So that take that tip away and enjoy, and put it to use. Okay, we're gonna do a smiling one, smiling one. She's such a cutie pie. Oh my goodness. These are so cute. And we'll do these ones. Okay, so now when you're gonna take your images into Adobe Camera Raw, if you're holding the shift key, then you can select multiple images. Oops, maybe it's the command key, sorry. Yeah, no, it's the command key. So when you're selecting your images, hold down the command key on your keyboard, and you can go ahead and you can run through and you can grab, you know, whatever images you want. And then you can deselect as well at the same time. And of course, I missed distraction. Okay. That's good for now. Okay, and then you're going to press Command R, and that's going to open them up into Adobe Camera Raw. Okay, so depending on whether you use presets or whether you use, you know, just hand retouching, no presets at all, no matter what you do, there's a process to it. So this has a preset applied to it. I'm just going to reset it just to show you. This is the original image. What I do is first I apply a preset that I like. Okay, and I've been messing around making new presets that I can use in all my sessions. And so these are some of the new ones. So let's just see here. I like to go for something that maintains the creamy skin tones, that is fairly close to the original fabric color, and still gives that like creamy look to it, and also doesn't have any like extreme side effects. So like for instance, this is a little bit extreme. This one's not as bad. And yeah, this one's not too bad either. But then I have my mirrorless collection, and I feel like I may have done, yeah, it's really close to star 5. It very well could be fresh 5 as well. Actually, it's fresh 5 is what I did. So yeah, that's the preset that I did, and that's from my mirrorless collection. And so that's what it's applied to all of these. Okay, it's just literally one click. So what I'm just going to show you that if you have a preset that's applied that's a little bit like needing adjustments, what you want to do is first apply the preset and then you're going to make those adjustments afterwards. Yeah, this is Bridge. Okay, so we're working in Adobe Bridge now, or an Adobe Camera Raw. One thing that I want to point out too, that a lot of photographers, when they use ACR, anytime there's an update that happens, if you look at this information right at the bottom here, this is sRGB. This is the color profile that you want to convert your files, your Adobe Camera Raw files into, or your Camera Raw files, sorry. And if you don't have that setting set up, then you need to do that. So you're going to go to the little spinning wheel and you're going to go to the, which one is it? This one, the workflow, and you're going to change it to sRGB. Okay. So a lot of times, whenever you do an update, or let's just say that you've just downloaded it, it might be on one of these different ones, but you want to convert it to sRGB. And a lot of times I see in threads that people's color profiles are all wonky because they didn't realize that you actually have to set it in either Lightroom or in an ACR just to make sure that the settings are correct. Okay, so I'm just going to go through with these images and just see if there's any that I like applied. This is my mirrorless collection. I actually like Star 1. So what I'm looking for when I look at presets is a base starting point that I can work with. I like to make sure that it keeps and maintains the skin tones, and I'm going to worry about the exposure in a minute. So this image was underexposed. I think I'm going to stick with clean 3, and then I'm going to go to the exposure and I'm going to bring up the exposure. Okay, so it was quite underexposed, but just by bringing up that exposure tab after having the preset applied to it, it was really good. So you can see on the left is before and then on the right is afterwards. So another thing that I like to do is I like to press the Q on my keyboard. And what that does is if you press it over and over, it's going to toggle through these side-by-side view, and then it's going to toggle so that if you move your image around, it's going to show the before on the left-hand side and the after on the right-hand side. So it's a really great feature. So pressing Q on your keyboard is fantastic. Okay. Another thing too is if you find that the skin is a little bit too bright, what I want you to do is go down to the color mixer panel and you're going to go to the luminance and you're going to reduce the orange slider and the yellow slider. And what that does is it actually just brings those highlights down on the skin and brings it back to more normal looking skin. So always check your luminance sliders in the orange and the yellow, especially the orange. Okay, so now it's looking really, really good. Now, if you ever have like really dark shadows on this side, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the basic panel and then you're gonna go to the dehaze slider and you're just gonna pull that dehaze slider back down. And what it does is it softens all those deep shadows. So you don't want to go crazy because you do want to have some shadows there. But if you ever find that like when you apply a preset or if you have an image with really strong shadows, adjust your dehaze right away. Okay. So I like that. I think that's a really good starting point. I think we could even up the vibrancy a little bit just to add a little bit more intensity back into the color tones and the saturation. Okay, so this little nugget is quite a pale tone, so we're just going to flip through the presets in my mirrorless collection and just see which one fits her skin best. And let me see her. Also, we want to make sure that the fabric doesn't change a lot either, because then that just becomes a pain in the butt. Okay, clean 2 actually is looking quite good. It's just a little bit too bright. So we're just going to bring down the exposure. And also just keep in mind that when you are applying a preset, you are going to have to adjust the temperature and the tint sometimes. So if it's too cool, then maybe you can warm it up. And then if you see that there's like too much green in the skin or in the image, then you can up the magenta, or you can just put it back. So just pressing undo. I actually thought it was just fine before I adjusted it, but I just wanted to show you that those adjustments will warm up the skin and whatnot. So I'm going to press Q on the keyboard again, and I'm just going to compare the skin tones. And one thing I notice is that I feel like I see a little bit of gray in her skin tone with this preset on. So even though like I like up here on her face, I am just going to go down to the calibration setting, and I'm just going to mess with the blue hue slider, and I'm just going to see. Now, if I was to pull it all the way to the right, it's really gonna gray it out. And if I was to pull it to the left, it's gonna almost make it like more orangey, kind of. Okay, so let's just make it, so I just pressed Q again. And then also on the hue of the green, if I'm to pull it all the way to the right, it's gonna really make those oranges punchy. I don't want to overdo that, so I am just going to pull that down, but like if I was to pull the saturation all the way up, you'd see how bright and vibrant the oranges are. So I don't want to do that either. I just want to keep it neutral. And the reds really they're not really that important in the calibration area. However, the shadows and the tint are, so what you could do is just bring it back to 0. And that way it is not affecting the shadows. Okay, so let's press Q again just to see the before and after. I feel like this is really close to the color tone. It's nice and rich and vibrant. And if you are like, oh, it needs to be a little bit more purple, then go to your color mixer, go to the hue. And if you don't know what hue to adjust, then click on this little selector. It's like a little cheat sheet type situation, and you can bring it to the right or you can bring it to the left, and if you press Q, then you can see which way and which direction you should go. I'm happy and satisfied with this. Maybe you might think it needs to be more purple, maybe it does, I don't know. So we'll keep it there. And the red, no, I think it's fine. Okay. So we've got this, and we're not going to do both of these. Okay, I'll do this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this. So I'm holding the command button down again. Oh, look at it. I don't think this has a preset on it, does it? I'm just gonna apply brush 5 to it. There we go. And then this one, I don't know if it has one. I'm just gonna apply fresh 5. Oh, she was such a chunky thing. Fresh 5, and then fresh 5. Okay. So if you want to just select all the images that you have, press Command A. If you want to deselect, hold the Command key down. And yeah, press open. So now we're going to open them directly into Photoshop. Nicole said, I've noticed my editing differs depending on what the lighting is in the room I'm editing in. Is there a way to avoid this? Yeah, that definitely will change how everything looks. One thing you can do to avoid as much as possible is to reduce the ambient lighting in the room. So also, like overhead lighting, shut it off. So I always have no overhead lighting on, and I make sure that I always use studio light. So if I am photographing in someone's home, then what I'll do is I will have their curtains closed and the lights off, and I try and choose a room with the least amount of other lighting, just so that I can control what I'm using and control what I have. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the images that were submitted. And first we're going to fix the background. So I'm going to press J on my keyboard, and I'm choosing the patch tool specifically. So if you press J and it picks the spot healing brush tool, then just go down and choose the patch tool. Then I am going to select this area, and I'm just going to press delete on my keyboard. This only works if you are using the delete key on the background layer itself. And the reason why is because if you were to, create a duplicate layer, press Command J, and then you delete, like select something and press delete, it's just deleting it off of that layer. So it's not going to work. So that's why you have to press delete on the background layer, so that it makes the AI intelligence work in Photoshop. So it's doing content aware is what it's doing. Anyways, I recommend that if you are going to be doing like actual patch tooling, that you press Command J and do that on a duplicate layer. And that way, if you make a mistake, it's an easy fix. And I like to just remove anything that is a distraction, and try and patch tool from a same texture. So like for instance, if you take it from too far away, it's going to not match the texture. So if you can see this right here, it's really blurry, but then it's like more textured around. You have to make sure that you are pulling it from a similar area so that it matches, the texture matches. Okay, so I like to do the patch tool for all big skin imperfections, and the reason why I use this over the spot healing brush is because I have more control, and I find that a lot of times when I use the spot healing brush, it will make like a funky texture, and I just end up having to fix it with the patch tool anyways. However, if it's in a really hard area to fix, like maybe the lash line or something, then I will use the spot healing brush. So if it's in an area that has like a lot of detail. Okay. So what I would do now is flatten it, and I do really like to anchor the baby in the frame. So for instance, here you can see that if like I put the crop tool on, and you can see the rule of thirds, you see that the baby's body is definitely hovering around like that bottom line here, and usually the face is coming really close to one of these cross points. So what I like to do now is press Command J and then Command T, and I like to stretch that image out. So I'm gonna actually just anchor it right near the bottom, not touching the bottom like this, but anchoring it near the bottom so that that rule of thirds applies. Okay, and then I'm going to flatten it, and now if I go to crop it, you can see here that the baby is anchored along that bottom line of the rule of thirds. I also like to crop at a 5:7 ratio, and that doesn't lose a whole bunch of data. You don't have to worry about that. If you look at the bottom left, you can see visually that the pixels are still 5,108 pixels wide by 3648. So I didn't go and make the picture super small. I didn't go like this and crop it tiny. I just changed the ratio and dimensions of the canvas of the portrait. Now what I would like to do is I'm going to use D-Blotch Medium, and this is not my skin action. This is from Totally Rad Pro Retouch 2. And what I like about this is it maintains the skin tone as well as keeps the texture. I find that the strong, like the strength in the strong one is too strong. And I always find that I go back to this action no matter what skin smoothing actions I own. Okay. And then what I like to do is I just like to liquefy any bumps and curves. So I'm going to press Command J. I'm going to liquefy just the area near her temple. And then I am just, this is not really important, but I'm just rounding out any kind of bumps or anything like that. Okay, and I'll just show you before, after, before, after. So I'm not trying to like change the shape of the baby or anything. I'm just kind of like pushing in and rounding it out so that's not distracting. Okay, then I'm gonna go to my skin actions, and I'm just gonna press Magenta Attack just because the eyelids are a little bit gray blue, and I'm just gonna bring it to like a lower opacity. And I don't need to take the color out of the eyelids, but I am just reducing that heavy purpley gray area. And then I'm just gonna lower the opacity of the action just so that it's not too strong. And then what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna correct this part right here. I'm just gonna show you guys how I would fix that. So I'm gonna press Command J, and then what I will do is, press Command Z if you make a mistake. What I would do here is I would click on the quick selection tool, press select subject, and now I'm just going to press the option key because I don't want to select this part. And then I'm just going to select quickly this part of the head and this part of the headband. I prefer a 5x7 crop over an 8x10 because I'll show you an example in a minute. Because I feel like 5x7 reduces, like it barely takes anything off, and that's what I want. Okay, so now I'm going to press Command J, and now as you can see, we have the baby on its own layer. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this layer. So we're going to hide this top layer, and we are going to try and fix this. Now I'm not promising it's going to look great. I'm just going to try it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to clone over top, and we're only taking little bits at a time because I find that the larger the cloning brush is, the larger the margin of error is. So of course we're taking from areas close to it. And now what I'm going to do as I get close, I'm just going to be very minimal, and I keep selecting from the area right next to it. And now what I'll do is, because I don't want to have like anything super noticeable. I'm going to bring the flow down, and what it's doing is it's almost like a lesser opacity, I guess. Okay, so now we're gonna go up to, or actually now we're gonna grab a brush and we're going to do a few big sweeps. I'm gonna bring the flow down and we're going to take a color selection. So hold the option key, it automatically brings the color selection tool up, and I'm gonna select from back here. I'm gonna make my brush really big and I'm just gonna do a sweep, okay? And then from back here, I'm going to select again. I'm going to just do another sweep. And then from down here, I'm going to do another sweep. Okay. And once I bring this top layer back, it takes away anything that's coming on the face, right? Because the baby was in this layer. Okay. So now that's good enough for me. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to flatten it. And then you see how this area looks like kind of fake. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to press or click the lasso tool, and I am going to press Command J, and I'm gonna press Command T. And then I'm going to double click it and click warp, I believe. And then we're just going to warp it down so that it doesn't look like it's just like fake and floating. I might have needed to click the distort tool. I forget. Sometimes I forget. That's actually a lot better than it was. So before, after, before, after. So now it's kind of hidden. And so I'm going to press flatten, press Command J, and then as you can see here, we have like this little part to fix here. So I'm going to press Command J again. And I am going to just, oh, wrong tool, sorry. Need to use the patch tool. I'm just going to select the areas that I need to work on, and I'm going to press the clone tool, and I'm still going to keep my flow at 47%, and I am just going to brush over the edge of that part and then also over here too. Okay, so now I'm going to flatten it, and I am going to just add just some subtle like blush, because I like to add a little bit of pink into the cheeks. Oh, I guess I have to bring my flow back up and my opacity back up. Okay. And then just lower that again because you obviously don't want it to be too strong. And then I like to just finish it off with my subtle smoother. This is the skin action that I gave you guys. And it's called skin smoothing, but I haven't updated the action to the new name for it, but it's called skin smoothing in the action that you download. I like to run it as my final skin smoother because it really just blends everything really nicely. And I have the fill at 54% on purpose. If you have it at 100%, it's too strong. Okay, and then I'm just gonna press Supreme Care just at a low opacity, and I'm just going to go over her face a little bit just because I feel like it was a little bit needing some help. Okay, so before, after, before, after. So it just really like helped with that creaminess. And then flatten, and then I sharpen it, and flatten it. Okay, with this image, same situation. I am going to deblotch it. And of course, I'm going to bring it back up to 100%. And there we go. I'm noticing that the eyelashes are just slightly soft focused. So just keep an eye on that when you are culling your session. Okay, I'm going to flatten this, and then I am going to sharpen the eyelashes. So if you go to Totally Rad, where is it? And go to Dramatic Lashes. Thanks, Paz. Make sure it's on 100%, and then that should help with out of focus. Press flatten. And then for the vibrancy of this area, I am just going to use my Action Supreme Care. It's my favorite action I've ever made. It's just like little magic brush. So I'm not going to keep it at 100%. I'm going to reduce it, but I'm just brushing it on strong for a minute just to show you. So now I'm just going to lower the opacity to like 50% of that action, because I like to keep color in the skin. I don't like to remove everything. And then I'm going to press Command J. And one thing I wanted to point out is, do you see the peeling hands? I don't ever edit that out. Like, if a parent asks for it, I tell them, why would you want that edited out? Like, that shows that your baby is brand new. And if I say that to them, they're like, oh, you're right. I'm like, that's never, ever going to happen to them again. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. And then they like it, and it's something that's cute. Whereas if I don't say that to them, then they're like, yeah, can you edit that out, please? Are you going to smooth that out? And then it's just weird. Okay, so you see how I did the spot healing brush tool? Well, that did not work. So I'm going to press Command Z, and I'm actually going to use the patch tool for this. So I'm literally just going to drag over the line, and voila, you'd never know there was a little eye boogie on there. Okay, and that's why I recommend using the patch tool, because it is full control. Okay, so he does have like a little mark on his eyebrow, and I'm gonna leave that because I think that maybe it's part of a birthmark. I'm not sure, so I'm just gonna leave that. Now he's a really beautiful baby. I am going to just do my subtle skin smoother at 100%, and I like it because it just blends everything together. So if there's any anything that needs blending, it's like a blending, it's like a blender, it's like a beauty blender. That's what I should call it. Okay. And if it's too smooth, then just lower the opacity, press flatten, and then I'm gonna just add some blush to his cute little face, just because I feel like it might look nice, and I don't care for it on this side, so I'm gonna take it off on that side, but I do like it on this side. And I'm gonna press flatten, and you know what? I really like color in babies. Don't forget that if you take too much color out, then they no longer look like a squishy, fresh newborn. So just keep an eye on how much color you remove. And then I sharpen it and flatten it. Okay, so this little chunky muffin, we're just gonna do a few here. So deblotch medium. And I'm just gonna show you, well, she had a really strong slope on her forehead. Like it was almost like a little bit of a square. So I'm just going to show you a little trick that I learned. And let me see if I can remember it. Hopefully I can. One thing about deblotch too is that it kind of like gets rid of all of the lines and things and blends out all the things on the skin that you want to get rid of. So I like to press X, just bring back those details of the eyebrows, press flatten. So let me just see if I can remember how to do this. I feel like I press filter, new, fill layer, no. Oh, see, this is the problem. This is why I make actions, you guys, because I have a really, really terrible memory. Okay, I'm not going to teach you anything that I can't remember. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press Command J, and I'm going to go to the dodge tool, and I'm going to bring the exposure down to like 5, and I'm going to bring it to the shadows, and I'm going to make it nice and big. And I am, oops, what the heck? It took off the, I don't know why it does that. So weird. Okay. So I am on the dodge, and I am just, so dodge tool will brighten, burn tool darkens, okay? And then I'm gonna bring it to the mid-tones. I'm just brightening that forehead area without having to do anything crazy, okay? So if I click it off, there it was. If I click it on, that looks a lot better. So I am just going to create a layer mask here, and I'm just going to use a black brush. So I'm going to click B on my keyboard, and I'm just going to brush it off with the 50% layer, or opacity, sorry. And then there you go. Like, that really blended out the forehead. See how easy that was? Like, so easy. And I find that a lot of times when we have like coloring issues, a lot of times exposure and light is all that you need to fix it. So now I'm just going to reduce some of the red on her face with Supreme Care. And I'm just going to make it a white brush, and I'm just going to keep the opacity at 53%. And I'm not going to take it off the sides of her cheeks because that's where natural red tones are. And I like pink feet, but I am just going to take a little bit off the bum, a little bit off of here, a little bit off the shoulder. And yeah, so before, after, and then I'm just going to lower the opacity because I think less is more. Then I'm going to press flatten, and then I'm going to run my skin smoother at 100%. But I hope that you enjoy that little trick with the dodge tool. Because a lot of times I feel like we make these like actions for dodge and burning and stuff like that, and it's like I forget all the time that there's just that little dodge tool right there that we need to use. Press flatten, and then I am going to press Command J, and see here we have these like little flecks here. So I'm just going to press J, and I'm just going to quickly patch tool that out. And of course I'm sticking to the same area with the same texture of skin. Okay, and you don't have to go nuts, you know. Usually whatever's on the lips, unless it's like a giant booger or something, I'll leave it. And then if it's like peeling hands, like I said, I leave it. And then if there's like really big diaper lines on the bum, I'll take those out. Press flatten, and then I have this action called refresh and contrast. And what it basically does is it it goes to levels and it adjusts and deepens and brightens and just kind of adds contrast to it. Let me see here, which I like to do. And then I have this other action that I haven't released, but it's define and pop. And so what it does is it just kind of strengthens everything, but I actually kind of like it the way it is like this. Okay, now I'm going to press Command J and I'm just going to show you guys one more thing. So we're going to select subject and press Command J, and I just want you guys to see how nice it is to not have wrinkles in your fabric. It is a wonderful thing. Press B on your backdrop or on your keyboard, sorry, B for brush, and then you're gonna select a color. Press your bracket key, your right bracket key for size, and you're going to lower your opacity to 50%, lower your flow, and you're just going to do large sweeps and like that, and then you're going to take it from this side and you're going to do the same thing. Okay, and then if you want to do one down the side, you can do one down the side and one on this side. Okay, and then of course you have to watch out for those edges, so you're going to make a layer mask. And you're going to press B and then X because you want to just bring back the edges or whatever. So of course we're going to have to do this twice because it's on here too. So okay. So I would recommend doing the brushing stroke after you flatten the image, and then you don't have to do it twice. Okay, so flatten it and then sharpen it and it's good. You don't have to spend an hour per picture. You just do your main things. So remember with the background, if it's missing anything, what you're going to do is take the patch tool, press delete, content aware, press OK, and it will fill in the backdrop for you. Now, of course, when it doesn't do like a great job, you might give it a helping hand, and then that's pretty good. And then if you press Command J and then do the brush effect like we just did on the other side, and just do like a little quick stroke up, then that's great. It kind of just blends everything together. Right, and then you can press your layer mask and your brush and bring your flow and your opacity to 100%, and you're just going to make sure it's not on the baby. Flatten, and then I just press Command J, and then if I need to liquefy something, a trick for liquefy is to make sure that the size of the bump that you want to move is the size of the brush. So look at this top forward warp tool. You're going to push that in, so you can push and pull, smooth it all out, make it perfect. Press OK, and then there we go, it's perfect. Okay, and of course we're going to do the deblotch medium. If you guys have any questions for me, I am going to look at the chat in a second, so feel free to let me know if you have any questions. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing deblotch, and I am avoiding any of the detailed areas. I'm not brushing over the eyes, I'm not brushing over the mouth or the nostrils. I'm just doing this area. So you can see in the image exactly where I have brushed. So the red is what's not touched, okay? And then I'm gonna flatten. And then I am going to, there's really not a whole lot to do. I mean, I can do her forehead again if I want. Oh, too big. Oh, every time I do that, seriously. Okay, and then just brush over where you need it to. Go on the shadows as well. And this doesn't happen with every baby, but it will happen with those that have like an extra layer of chub and fat on their forehead. I didn't tilt the baby. I just rotated my camera. Kim, the baby is not tilted. The baby is exactly the way I always pose with this type of pose. It's just a simple rotation of the camera. Okay, so I don't like it. It brought a little bit of a gray, so I'm going to press a layer mask, press B, press X so that I can just lightly brush off. And that was too strong, so I'm just going to go down to even 17%. Okay, that's better. Press flatten, and then I am going to do Supreme Care. Yeah. Just on the, I guess I have to bring up the opacity. Just on the areas that don't necessarily need to be red. Oh, see, I do like pink toes, so I'll just bring that back. And then, so I barely did anything. Okay, that's all I did. Like not much area at all. And before, after, before, after. So of course I'm just going to lower the opacity so that it keeps it natural looking. And then flatten it. And then I could add some blush to it. Thanks, Jody. This is from the mentoring group videos that I made in the mentoring group. Okay, so then I'm going to bring the opacity of the blush down a little bit just so it's not overpowering, and then press flatten. And then I would probably sharpen it, flatten it, and then we're good. So I'm just going to show you guys how I save these. So I just press File, Save As, and you know, put a folder, make a folder, and then I just make sure that it's sRGB, and then I save it. Make sure it's maximum quality and press OK. One thing I want to point out is that you need to make sure your, first of all, your image size needs to be at resolution 300. That is like the most important thing. That needs to be at 300, okay? If you were to open an image, and this has happened to me before, I had an update on my Photoshop and it changed my color profile to like Adobe, not Adobe, but like some funky weird color profile. And I just about died because I'd edited an entire session and I didn't know that you can just go to edit, convert to profile, and take whatever profile it's in and convert it to whatever profile you need. So like I think I had accidentally opened the images in Pro Photo, which is going to turn your images green, by the way. And then so I had to re-edit the entire gallery and I was so mad at myself. But then I found out after messing around with Photoshop that I could have just converted the profile and it would have been good to go. So hopefully that saves you guys your own situation. Okay, I want to just show you guys one last image. Oh my gosh, I have to do this one because she's so cute. Oh my goodness, let's see which one I want to do. This one maybe. Huh. Okay, so I'm going to press J and I am just going to get rid of, yeah, I got rid of that. Now I don't want this wrap to show, so I'm going to press Command J She was kind of wiggling around and it just wiggled up too high. So I just stretched the image and I'm just going to fill the image with her just because, or I might just leave it like this. Nah, I'll go like that. And then I'm going to press flatten. And then I am going to just do deblotch strong maybe. I'm just going to try deblotch strong. And yeah. Oh, she's such a pretty little thing. So this is where I did one stroke here, one pop here, one pop here, and that's it. Okay? And then press flatten. And then I'm going to press Command J. And as you can see here, I don't think I included this because the eyelashes were a little bit soft focused. And so I don't think I even included this in her gallery, but it's so cute with her little tongue. Really, Amber? Oh, yeah, this is something I figured out pretty early on in my career, and stretching out an image has been a game changer because you don't lose the size of the image, you just create basically what you need. And you don't lose or crop anything off. Because as you can see, if you look at this, if you look at the size right here, 5472 pixels wide, I didn't lose any size at all. So it's like fantastic. Just gonna get rid of her little eye boogies. There we go. Yeah, see, if you're cropping data away from the image, yeah, it's a pain in the neck. Like you're just making more work for yourself. Whereas this is like a 5-second tweak and voila, you've got what you need. Okay, so now we're gonna flatten it. I'm just gonna do Supreme Care on her, but with 50%. Pardon? What do you mean? Can you give the commands for the crop without the cropping? I don't know what you mean. It is so true, right, Amber? It's so true. Whenever I watch an editing video, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is cool. Like, I don't know why I never use these for like forever. And now I am. Oh, I don't have a shortcut for cropping. I click on the crop tool. But it looks like the crop is C for cropping. Okay, and then I press flatten. And you can create shortcuts too by making your own shortcuts, by the way. So you just have to Google how to do it because honestly I have a terrible memory and I can't remember how to do it, or I would show you. And then I just sharpen it and we're good. Now I'm not going to take this little red mark off her lip because it is a birthmark. And I am going to press Command J and Command T, and I am just going to stretch out this one teeny weeny little corner just so that I don't have to edit that out. And then flatten, and we are done. So tell me, guys, I'll stay on for 5 more minutes. Do you guys have any questions for me? Let me know. Oops, I saved it in the wrong folder. The baby is wrapped. The baby is wrapped in the bottom. You can see, it's just the arms though. She's just got her arms wrapped. That's it. Okay. Oh, another thing too is somebody had mentioned the cropping. Okay, so here's a 5x7 crop. And here's an 8x10. Let me see here. See how much you lose on the sides? This is the exact reason why I don't do an 8x10. You're losing so much of that image. But if you go to a 5x7 crop, then look, you're literally just skimming the edges on each side. That's why I don't do an 8x10. And I don't remember who taught me that. but it was at the very beginning of my career and I've just always stuck with it. Yes, so to stretch an image, you just create a duplicate layer, so Command J, and then Command T. And so I have a little saying that I've done in all my boot camps where I go, when in doubt, stretch it out. So you could do that even like as an example, you could do it like this. If you wanted to make the baby smaller and then create more around, and then you could just like press E for erase and then just erase the edges. So what I like to do is, like, if I wanted to create, I have to be very careful how much I erase, but I just want to erase the hard edge off. And then there you go. Then I've created a much bigger image, basically, with more negative space. Okay. Of course, I'm not going to do that. I like it nice and big. Okay. So I go over all of these things in my mentoring program, and I have oodles and oodles of editing videos. And anytime I ever have a student that needs help with editing, as soon as I have time, I will go and I will make a video and I will edit their images for them. That's just a perk of being in the mentoring program. So I hope that you guys have been enjoying learning from me this week. Tomorrow we have our final day. And I know that we're going to have lots of fun on our final day, and I appreciate everybody who joined me. I'm not quite sure how many of you guys were on, and but I do hope that you guys had a good time. So I'm just looking at the chat here. There's another question. What's the size you hand in photo to clients? I heard some photographers hand in 2 sizes, one for use in social media. So I'm not a stickler. I will give my clients the full resolution, because if they're spending $175 a picture, I don't care if I give it to them for the full resolution if they've paid for it. To me, it's like, I'm not going to give them a tiny little social media size because the reason why is because clients do not see if the picture is pixelated or if it's great, like terribly printed, and they will try and print a large social media size file because they don't understand. So just give them the large size and let them have their way with it. Thanks, Angelique. So glad you could join. Amber, thanks so much for joining. Rye, do I brighten for print? Actually, I do, and I don't brighten it for print. I edit for print, and that way I don't have to brighten it for print. You guys have these videos to watch until Sunday. At Sunday, they are all going into the mentoring program website and Facebook group, and this group will be deactivated. So I click on the histogram. I take my brush and I hover over the brightest part of the image on the skin. Info is what I click on. And as you can see in the top right corner, the R, so look at this right here, you guys. The R is going to have a number to it. You want that number for printing, you want that number to be between 230 and 245 or 250. If it's at higher than 250, it's going to have blown out parts in your print. So that's how I that's how I edit for print. And I edit that way so that I don't have to worry about whether it's going to print well or not. And the problem is that if you don't go by those numbers, your screen might be dimmed over time, and you might not actually know or realize that your brightness is like either really bad or it's like really underexposed or whatever. So it's really important to watch your histogram numbers and just make sure that everything's in line with what you need them to be. So I hope that helped, and I hope that you guys enjoyed your time with me today and yesterday and the day before and the day before that. You have every day this week to finish watching and catching up on the replays. Tomorrow, I am going to be talking about the mentoring program, but I really hope that you guys come and join and support me on that, because that is one of the reasons why I do these boot camps, is so that you can get to know more about me, get to know how I teach, get comfortable with me as a teacher and as a peer, and just know that I am here to help you succeed, grow your business, get better at what you're doing, and just fine tune everything and make sure that, you're actually meeting those goals that you have. And one of the great things about the mentoring is that it keeps you accountable, and you also have a group of very like minded people that are there to cheer you on and support you. Okay? So, you guys have a great day, and thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Bye for now.